Hello and welcome. We are going to be reading the last bit of, it's not too much more. No, not too much more. So, yeah, I don't think it'll take more than maybe an hour and a half, which is good. Okay. So, we're just going to jump straight into it. So, this chapter, respectively, is called Cassette 6, Side B. Play. Just 2 more to go. Don't give up on me now. I'm sorry, I guess that's an odd thing to say, because isn't that what I'm doing? Giving up? Yes, as a matter of fact I am, and that more than anything else is what this all comes down to. Me. Giving up on me. No matter what I've said so far, no matter who I've spoken of, it all comes back to, it all ends with me. Voice sounds calm, content with what she's saying. Before that party, I thought about giving up so many times. I don't know. Maybe some people are just preconditioned to think about it more than others. Because every time something bad happened, I thought about it. Okay? I'll say it. I thought about suicide. The anger, the blame, it's all gone. Her mind is made up. The word is not a struggle for her anymore. After everything I've talked about on these tapes, everything that occurred, I thought about suicide. Usually it was just a passing thought. I wish I would die. I've thought those words many times, but it's a hard thing to say out loud. It's even scarier to feel you might mean it. Yeah, it is really hard. It's very scary when you think you mean it. This is me talking, not the book. So I have been there. And for those of you listening, you're not alone. You're not alone. But yeah, it's even scarier. But yeah, it's even scarier when you feel you might mean it. But sometimes I took things further and wondered how I would do it. I would tuck myself into bed and wonder if there was anything in the house I could use. A gun? No. We never owned one, and I wouldn't know where to get one. What about hanging? Well, what would I use? Where would I do it? And even if I knew what and where, I could never get beyond the visual of someone finding me, swinging inches from the floor. I couldn't do that to Mom and Dad. So how did they find you? I've heard so many rumors. It became a sick sort of game, imagining ways to kill myself. And there are some pretty weird and creative ways. You took pills. That we all know. Some say you passed out and drowned in a bathtub full of water. It came down to 2 lines of thinking. If I wanted people to think it was an accident, I'd drive my car off the road, someplace where there's no chance of survival. And there are so many places to do that on the outskirts of town. I've probably driven by each of them a dozen times in the past couple of weeks. Others say you drew bathwater, but fell asleep on your bed while it was filling. Your mom and dad came home, found the bathroom flooded, and called your name, but there was no answer. Then there are these tapes. Can I trust the 12 of you to keep a secret? Not to let my parents find out what really happened? Will you let them believe it was an accident if that's the story going around? She pauses. I don't know. I'm not sure. She thinks we might tell. She thinks we'll walk up to our friends and say, do you want to know a horrible secret? So I've decided on the least painful way possible. Pills. My stomach pulls in, wanting to rid my body of everything. Food, thoughts, emotions. But what kind of pills? And how many? I'm not sure, and I don't have much time to figure it out, because tomorrow I'm going to do it. Wow. I sit down on the curb of a dark, quiet intersection. I won't be around anymore tomorrow. Most houses on the connecting 4 blocks give little indication that anyone is awake inside. A few windows flicker with a faint blue light of late-night TV. About a third of them have porch lights on, but for the rest, other than a cut lawn or a car out front, it's hard to tell anyone lives there at all. Tomorrow, I'm getting up, I'm getting dressed, and I'm walking to the post office. There, I'll mail a bunch of tapes to Justin Foley, and after that, there's no turning back. I'll go to school, too late for first period, and we'll have one last day together. The only difference being that I'll know it's the last day. You won't. Can I remember? Can I see her in the halls on that last day? I want to remember the very last time I saw her. And you'll treat me how you've always treated me. Do you remember the last thing you said to me? I don't. The last thing you did to me? I smiled. I'm sure of it. I smiled every time I saw you after that party, but you never looked up, because your mind was made up. If given the chance you knew you might smile back, and you couldn't. Not if you wanted to go through with it. And what was the last thing I said to you? Because trust me, when I said it, I knew it was the last thing I'd ever say. Nothing. You told me to leave the room, and that was it. You found ways to ignore me every time after that. Which brings us to one of my very last weekends. The weekend following the accident. The weekend of a new party. A party I didn't attend. Yes, I was still grounded, but that's not the reason I didn't go. In fact, if I wanted to go, it would have been much easier than last time because I was house sitting that weekend. A friend of my father's was out of town, and I was watching his house for him, feeding his dog and keeping an eye on things because there was supposed to be a rager a few doors down. And there was. Maybe not as big as the last party, but definitely not one for beginners. Even if I thought you might be there, I still would have stayed home. With the way you ignored me at school, I assumed you would ignore me there too, and that was a theory too painful to prove. I've heard people say that after a particularly bad experience with tequila, just the smell of it can make them barf. And while this party didn't make me barf, just being near it, or just hearing it, twisted my stomach into knots. 1 week was nowhere near enough time to get over that last party. The dog was going crazy, yapping every time someone walked by the house, by the window. I would crouch down, yelling at him to get away from there, but was too afraid to ever go and pick him up. Too afraid someone might see me and call my name. So I put the dog in the garage where he could yap all he wanted. Wait, I remember it now. The last time I saw you. The bass thumping down the block was impossible to shut out, but I tried. I ran through the house, closing curtains and twisting shut every blind I could find. I remember the last words we said to each other. Then I hid myself in the bathroom with the TV blasting, and sorry, I got distracted. Um, then I hid myself in the bedroom with the TV blasting. And even though I couldn't hear it, I could feel the bass pumping inside me. I shut my eyes tight. I wasn't watching the TV anymore. I wasn't in that room anymore. I could only think back to that closet, hiding in it with a pile of jackets surrounding me. And once again, I started rocking back and forth, and once again, no one was around to hear me cry. In Mr. Porter's English class, I noticed your desk was empty, but when the bell rang and I walked into the hall, there you were. Eventually, the party died down, and after everyone walked by the window again, and the dog stopped yapping, I walked through the house, reopening the curtains. We almost bumped into each other, but your eyes were down so you didn't know it was me. And together, we said it. I'm sorry. After being shut in for so long, I decided to catch a breath of fresh air, and maybe, in turn, be a hero. When you looked up, you saw me, and there in your eyes, that was it? Sadness? No. And there in your eyes, what was it? Sadness? Pain? You moved around me and tried pushing your hair away from your face. Your fingernails were painted dark blue. I watched you walk down the long stretch of hallway, with people knocking into me, but I didn't care. I stood there and watched you disappear. Forever. Once again, everybody, D4, Courtney Crimson's house, the site of this party. No, this tape is not about Courtney, though she does play a part. But Courtney has no idea what I'm about to say because she left just as things got going. I turn and walk in the opposite direction of Courtney's house. I turn and walk the opposite direction of Courtney's house. My plan was just to walk by the place. Maybe I'd find someone struggling to put their key in their car door, and I'd give them a ride home. I'm not going to Courtney's. I'm going to Eisenhower Park, the scene of Hannah's first kiss. But the street was empty. Everybody was gone, or so it seemed. And then someone called my name. Over the tall wooden fence at the side of her house, a head poked up. And whose head would that be? Bryce Walker's. God, no. This can only end one way. If anyone can shovel more shit onto Hannah's life, it's Bryce. Where are you going? He asked. How many times had I seen him with any of his girlfriends, grabbing their wrists and twisting, treating them like meat? And that was in public. My body, my shoulders, everything was set to keep walking by the house. And I should have kept walking. But my face turned toward him. There was steam rising up from his side of the fence. Come on, join us, he said. We're sobering up. And whose head should pop up beside his? Miss Courtney Crimson's. Now, there was a coincidence. She's the one who used me as a chauffeur to attend a party, and there I was, crashing her after party. She's the one who left me stranded with no one to talk to. And there I was, at her house, where she had nowhere to hide. Interesting. In the book, it happened at Courtney Crimson's house, but in the series, it happened at Bryce's house. Interesting. And she wasn't dog sitting. She was grounded, but she snuck out. And there I was, at her house, where she had no... where she had nowhere to hide. That's not why you did it, Hannah. That's not why you joined them. You knew it was the worst choice possible. You knew that. But who am I to hold a grudge? That's why you did it. You wanted your world to collapse around you. You wanted everything to get set as dark as possible. And Bryce, you knew, could help you do that. This sounds a little like victim blaming, book Clay. But okay. Reading that part in Clay's little monologue is just like, yeah, a bit. Like, no, you don't say that. That's not... She didn't ask to be raped. Oops, sorry, spoiler. But she didn't ask for that. Series Clay is totally more understanding. Yeah, it was. You wanted your world to collapse around you. You wanted everything to get as dark as possible. And Bryce, you knew, could help you do that. You said you were all just relaxing a bit. Then you, Courtney, offered to give me a ride home when we were done, not realizing home was only 2 houses away. And you sounded so genuine, which surprised me. It made me feel a little guilty. I was willing to forgive you, Courtney. I do forgive you. In fact, I forgive almost all of you. But you still need to hear me out. You still need to know. I walked across the wet grass and pulled the latch on the fence, popping the glade open a few inches, and behind it, the source of the steam. A redwood hot tub. The jets weren't on, so the only sound was the water lapping against the sides, against the two of you. Your heads were back, resting on the edge of the hot tub. Your eyes were shut, and the little smiles on your faces made the water and steam look so inviting. Courtney rolled her head my way, but kept her eyes shut. "We're in our underwear," she said. I waited a second. Should I? No, but I will. You knew what you were getting into, Hannah. No, she didn't. Oh my God, Clay. Clay, you're breaking my heart here. That is not okay for you to say. At all. Okay. I liked series better. Series Clay better. Netflix Clay was a lot better. You knew what you were getting in. You knew what you were getting into, Hannah. I took off my top, pulled off my shoes, took off my pants and climbed. Yeah, I wouldn't either, but I don't know. Yeah, but I didn't. She didn't think anything was gonna happen. Probably. Most likely, she didn't know it was gonna happen. Netflix Hannah didn't know it was gonna happen. But yeah, poor choice in, decision making, but things happen and you don't you don't really expect them to happen until they're happening. I took off my top, pulled off my shoes, took off my pants, and climbed the wooden steps. And then I descended into the water. It felt so relaxing, so comforting. I kept the hot water in my hands and let it drip over my face. I pushed it back through my hair, for I forced my eyes to shut, my body to slide down. My body to slide down, and my head to rest against the ledge. But with the calming water also came terror. I should not be here. I didn't trust Courtney. I didn't trust Bryce, no matter what their original intentions. I knew them each well enough not to trust them for long. And I was right not to trust them. But I was done. I was through fighting. I opened my eyes and looked up at the night sky. Through the steam, the whole world seemed like a dream. I narrow my eyes as I walk, wanting to shut them wanting to shut them completely. Before long, the water became uncomfortable, too hot. When I open my eyes, I want to be standing in front of the park. I don't want to see any more of the streets I walked and the streets Hannah walked the night of the party. But when I pushed my back against the tub and sat to cool my upper body, I could see my breasts through my wet bra. So I slid back down, and Bryce slid over, slowly, across across the water bench, and his shoulder rested against mine. Courtney opened her eyes, looked at us, then shut them again. I swing a fist to the side and rattle a rusted chain link fence. I shut my eyes and drag my fingers across the metal. Bryce's words were soft, an obvious attempt at romance. Hannah Baker, he said. Everyone knows who you are, Bryce. Everyone knows what you do. But I, for the record, did nothing to stop you. You asked if I had fun at the party. Courtney whispered that I wasn't at the party, but you didn't seem to care. Instead, your fingertips touched the outside of my thigh. I opened my eyes and and pound the fence again. I clenched my jaw and your fingers moved away. It broke up pretty fast, you said, and just as fast, your fingertips were back. I hold tight to the fence and keep walking forward. When my fingers pull away from the metal, my skin slices open. Your whole hand was back. And when I didn't stop you, you slid your hand across my belly. Your thumb touched the bottom of my bra, and your pinky touched the top of my underwear. Uh, Maybe a little too late, but trigger warning for people like rape and sexual assault and sexual harassment. Trigger warning. I should have said that sooner, but oops. I'm saying it now. Do not listen if you have triggers. Don't. Uh, I turned my head sideways, away from you, and I know I didn't smile. You pulled your fingers together and rubbed slow, full circles around my stomach. Feels nice, you said. I felt a shift in the water and opened my eyes for one brief second. Courtney was walking away. Do you need more reasons for everyone to hate you, Courtney? Remember when you were a freshman? You asked. Your fingers made their way up under my bra, but you didn't grab me. Testing the boundaries, I guess. Sliding your thumb along the underside of my breasts. Weren't you on that list? You said. Best ass in the freshman class? Bryce, you had to see my jaw clench. You had to see my tears. Does that kind of shit turn you on? Bryce? Yes, it does. It's true, you said. And then, just like that, I let go. My shoulders went limp, my legs fell apart. I knew exactly what I was doing. Not once had I given in to the reputation you'd all set for me. Not once. Even though sometimes it was hard, even though sometimes I felt myself attracted to someone who only wanted to get with me because of what they'd heard. But I always said no to those people. Always. Until Bryce. So, congratulations, Bryce. You're the one. I let my reputation catch up with me. I let my reputation become me. With you. How does it feel? Wait, don't answer that. Let me say this first. I was not attracted to you, Bryce. Ever. In fact, you disgusted me. And I'm going to kick your ass, I swear it. You were touching me, but I was using you. I needed you, so I could let go of me completely. For everyone listening, let me be clear. I did not say no or push his hand away. All I did was turn my head, clench my teeth, and fight back tears. And he saw that. He even told me to relax. Just relax, he said. Everything will be okay. As if letting him finger me was going to cure all my problems. But in the end, I never told you to get away. And you didn't. You stopped rubbing circles on my stomach. Instead, you rubbed back and forth, gently along my waist. Your pinky made its way under the top of my panties, and rolled back and forth, from hip to hip. Then another finger slipped below, pushing your pinky further down, brushing it through my hair. That's all you needed, Bryce. You started kissing my shoulder, my neck, sliding your fingers in and out. And then you kept going. You didn't stop there. I'm sorry. Is this getting too graphic for some of you? Too bad. When you were done, Bryce, I got out of the hot tub and walked 2 houses away. The night was over. I was done. Stop. I tightened my fist and lifted in front of my face. Through my teary eyes, I watched the blood squeeze through my fingers. The skin is cut deep in a few places, torn by the rusted fence. No matter where Hannah wants me to go, I know where I'm spending the rest of my night. But first, I need to clean my hand. The cut stings, but I mostly feel weak from the sight of my own blood. I head for the nearest gas station. It's a couple of blocks down and not too far out of my way. I flick my hand a few times, dripping dark spots of blood onto the sidewalk. When I reach the station, I tuck my hurt hand into my pocket and pull open the glass door of the mini-mart. I find a clear bottle of rubbing alcohol and a small box of band-aids. Drop a few bucks on the counter and ask for a key to the restroom. Restrooms are around back, the woman said. The woman behind me, the woman behind the counter says. I turn the key in the lock and push the restroom door open with my shoulder. Then I rinse my hand beneath cold water and watch the cold circle down the drain. Hold on. Yeah, I turn the key in the lock and push the restroom door open with my shoulder. Then I rinse my hand beneath cold water and watch the blood circle down the drain. I crack the seal on the bottle of alcohol and in one motion, because I won't do it if I think, empty the entire bottle over my hand. My whole body tenses, and I curse as loud and as hard as I can. It feels like my skin is peeling away from the muscle. After what seems like nearly an hour, I can finally bend and flex my fingers again. Using my free hand and my teeth, I apply some bandages to my cut hand. I return the key, and the woman says nothing more than "have a good night." Then I reach the sidewalk. I start jogging again. There's only one tape left, a blue number 13 painted in the corner. And that is the end of that chapter. And respectively, this next chapter is called Cassette 7, Side A. Eisenhower Park is empty. I stand silently at the entrance, taking it all in. This is where I'll spend the night, where I'll listen to the last words Hannah Baker wants to say before I let myself fall asleep. Lampposts stand in the various play areas, but most of the bulbs are either burnt out or busted. The bottom half of the rocket slide is hidden in darkness, but near the top, where the rocket climbs higher than the swings and the trees, moonlight hits the metal bars, all the way up to the peak. I step onto an area of sand surrounding the rocket. I duck beneath its bottom platform, lifted up from the ground by 3 large metal fins. Above me, a circle the size of a manhole is cut into the lowest level. A metal ladder descends into the sand. When I stand up, my shoulders poke through the hole. With my good hand, I grip the lip of the circle and climb to the first platform. I reach into my jacket pocket and press play. Play. One last try. She's whispering. The recorder is close to her mouth, and with each break in her words, I can hear her breathe. I'm giving life one more chance, and this time I'm getting help. I'm asking for help because I cannot do this alone. I've tried that. You didn't, Hannah. I was there for you, and you told me to leave. Of course, if you're listening to this, I failed. Or he failed. And if he fails, this deal is sealed. My throat tightens, and I start climbing up the next ladder. Only one person stands between you and this collection of audio tapes, Mr. Porter. No, he cannot know about this. Hannah and I both have Mr. Porter for first period English. I see him every day. I do not want him to know about this. Not about me, not about anyone. And to bring an adult into this, someone from school, is beyond what I imagined. Mr. Porter, let's see how you do. The sound of Velcro tearing apart, then stuffing. She's shoving the recorder into something. A backpack? Her jacket? She knocks. And knocks again. Hannah, glad you made it. The voice is muffled, but it's him. Deep, but friendly. Come, sit here. Thank you. Our English teacher, but also the guidance counselor for students with last names A through G. Hannah Baker's guidance counselor. Are you comfortable? Do you want some water? No, I'm fine, thank you. So, Hannah, how can I help you? What would you like to talk about? Well, I don't know, really. Just everything, I guess. That might take a while. A long pause. Too long. Hannah, it's okay. I've got as much time as you need. Whenever you're ready. It's just things. Everything's so hard for her. Everything's so hard right now. Her voice is shaky. I don't know where to begin. I mean, I kind of do, but there's so much and I don't know how to sum it all up. You don't need to sum it all up. Why don't we begin with how you're feeling today? Right now? Right now. Right now, I feel lost, I guess, sort of empty. Empty how? Just empty. Just nothing. I don't care anymore. About? Make her tell you. Keep asking questions. Make her tell you. About anything. School, myself, the people in my school. What about your friends? You're going to have to define friends if you want an answer to that question. Don't tell me you don't have friends, Hannah. I see you in the halls. Seriously, I need a definition. How do you know what a friend is? Someone you can turn to when... Then I don't have any. That's why I'm here, isn't it? I'm turning to you. Yes, you are, and I'm glad you're here, Hannah. I crawl across the second platform and kneel beside an opening in the bars. An opening big enough for people to crawl through each an opening big enough for people to crawl through each slide to reach the slide. You don't know how hard it was to set up this meeting. My schedule's fairly open this week. Yeah, my schedule's been fairly open this week. Not hard to schedule. Hard to get myself here. Moonlight catches the smooth metal on the slide. I can imagine Hannah here, about 2 years ago, pushing off and sliding down, slipping away. Again, I'm glad that you're here, Hannah. So tell me, when you leave this office, how do you want things to be different for you? You mean, how can you help? Yes. I guess I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm expecting. Well, what do you need right now that you're not getting? Let's start there. I need it to stop. You need what to stop? I need everything to stop. People, life. I push myself back from the slide. Hannah, do you know what you just said? She knows what she said, Mr. Porter. She wants you to notice what she said and help her. You said you wanted to stop life. Hannah, you said you wanted to stop, you said you wanted life to stop, Hannah. Your life? No response. Is that what you meant to say, Hannah? Those are very serious words, you know. She knows every word that comes out of her mouth, Mr. Porter. She knows they're serious words. Do something. I know. They are. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Talk to him. I don't want my life to end. That's why I'm here. So what happened, Hannah? How did we get here? Or how did I get here? You, Hannah, how did you get to this point? I know you can't sum it all up. It's the snowball effect. Am I right? Yes, the snowball effect. That's what she's been calling it. It's one thing on top of another. It's one thing on top of another. It's too much, isn't it? Life's too hard. It's too hard. Life? Another pause. I grab onto the outer I grab onto the outer bars of the rocket and pull myself up. My bandaged hand hurts. It stings to put my weight on it, but I don't care. Here, take this. An entire box of tissues just for you. Never been used. A laugh. He got her the laugh. Thank you. Let's talk about school, Hannah. So I could get some idea how you got to this point. Hold on. Oh yeah. Let's talk about school, Hannah. So I can get some idea how you got to this point. Okay. I start climbing up to the top level. When you think of school, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Learning, I guess. Well, that's good to hear. I'm kidding. Now Mr. Porter laughs. I do learn here, but that's not what school is for me. Then what it is then what is it for you? A place just a place filled with people that I'm required to be with. I sit on the platform. And that's hard for you? At times. With certain people or people in general? With certain people. But also everyone. Can you be a little more specific? I scoot backward from the platform and lean against the metal steering wheel. Above the tree line, the half moon is almost too bright to look at. It's hard because I don't know who's going to, get me next. Or how. What do you mean, get you? Not like a conspiracy or anything, but it feels like I never know when something's going to pop out of the woodwork. And get you? I know, it sounds silly. Then explain. It's hard to explain unless you've heard some of the rumors about me. I haven't. Teachers, especially a teacher, moonlighting as a counselor, tend to get left out of student gossip. Not that we don't have our own gossip. About you? He laughs. It depends. What have you heard? Nothing, I'm joking. Then tell me if you hear anything. I promise. Don't joke, Mr. Porter. Help her. Get back to Hannah, please. When was the last time a rumor popped up? See, that's it. Not all of them are rumors. Okay? No, listen. Please listen. Years ago, I was voted, in one of those polls. Well, not really a poll, but someone's stupid idea of a list. Best of and worst of thing. He doesn't respond. Did he see it? Does he know what she's talking about? And people have been reacting to it ever since. When was the last time? I hear her pull tissue from the box. Recently? At a party? I swear, one of the worst nights of my life. Because of a rumor? So much more than a rumor, but partly yes. Can I ask what happened at this party? It wasn't really during the party. It was after. Okay, Hannah. Can we play 20 questions? What? Sometimes it's hard for people to open up, even to a counselor where everything is strictly confidential. Okay. So, can we play 20 questions? Yes. At this party, you mentioned. Are we. At this party, you mentioned. Are we talking about a boy? Yes. But again, it wasn't during the party. I understand that. But we need to start somewhere. Okay. He exhales deeply. I'm not going to judge you, Hannah. But did anything happen that night that you regret? Yes. I stand up and walk to the outer bars of the rocket, wrapping my hands around two of the bars. I touch my face to the empty space between them. Did anything happen with this boy? And you can be totally honest with me, Hannah. Did anything happen that might be considered illegal? You mean rape? No, I don't think so. Why don't you know? Because there were circumstances? Alcohol? Maybe, but not with me. Drugs? No, just more circumstances. Are you thinking of pressing charges? No, No. I exhale a full breath of air. Then what are your options? Then what are you? Then what are your options? I don't know. Tell her, Mr. Porter. Tell her what her options are. What can we do to solve this problem, Hannah? Together. Nothing. It's over. Something needs to be done, Hannah. Something needs to change for you. I know, but what are my options? I need you to tell me. Well, if you won't press charges, if you're not sure if you can even press charges, then you have two options. What? What are they? Yep. Yeah. But in the series, Mr. Porter was an actual therapist, which kind of makes it worse. Because he was just a guidance counselor. He wasn't an English teacher, which kind of makes it worse. But also, this is worse. This is really bad, too. Yeah, schools need to have more therapists. Well, if you won't press charges, if you're not sure if you can even press charges, then you have two options. What? What are they? She sounds hopeful. She's putting too much hope in his answers. One, you can confront him. We can call him in here to discuss what happened at this party. I can call you both out of. You said there were two options. Or two. But I'm not trying to be blunt here, Hannah. But you can move on. You mean do nothing? I grip the bars and shut my eyes. It is an option, and that's all we're talking about. Look, something happened, Hannah. I believe you. But if you won't press charges and you won't confront him, you need to consider the possibility of moving beyond this. And if that's not a possibility? Nope. Those are not two options. Nope. Not at all. But if you won't press charges and you won't confront him, you need to consider the possibility of moving beyond this. And if that's not a possibility, then what? Because guess what, Mr. Porter? She won't do it. Move beyond this? Is he in your class, Hannah? He's a senior. So he'll be gone next year. You want me to move beyond this? It's not a question, Mr. Porter. Don't take it as one. She's thinking out loud. It's not an option because she can't do it. Tell her you're going to help her. There's a rustle. Thank you, Mr. Porter. No. Hannah, wait. You don't need to leave. I screamed through the bars, over the trees. No! I think I'm done here. Do not let her leave. I got what I came for. I think there's more we can talk about, Hannah. No, I think we figured it out. I need to move on and get over it. Not get over it, Hannah, but sometimes there's nothing left to do but move on. Do not let her leave that room. You're right. I know. Hannah, I don't understand why you're in such a hurry to leave. Because I need to get on with things, Mr. Porter. If nothing's going to change, then I'd better get on with it, right? Hannah, what are you talking about? I'm talking about my life, Mr. Porter. A door clicks. Hannah, wait! Another click. Now the tearing of Velcro. Footsteps. Picking up speed. I'm walking down the hall. Her voice is clear. Louder. His door is closed behind me. It's staying closed. A pause. He's not coming. I press my face hard against the bars. They feel like a vice tightening against my skull the further I push. He's letting me go. The point beyond my eyebrows throbbing so hard, but I don't touch it. I don't rub it. I let it pound. I think I've made myself very clear, but no one's stepping forward to stop me. Who else, Hannah? Your parents? Me? You were not very clear with me. A lot of you cared, just not enough. And that is what I needed to find out. But I didn't know what you were going through, Hannah. And I did find out. The footsteps continue faster. And I'm sorry. The recorder clicks off. My face pressing against the bars. I begin to cry. If anyone is walking through the park, I know they can hear me. But I don't care if they hear me because I can't believe I just heard the last words I'll ever hear from Hannah Baker. I'm sorry. Once again, those were the words, and now anytime someone says I'm sorry, I'm going to think of her. But some of us won't be willing to say those words back. Some of us will be too angry at Hannah for killing herself and blaming everyone else. I would have helped her if she'd only let me. I would have helped her because I want her to be alive. The tape vibrates in the Walkman as it reaches the end of its spool. And that is the end of that chapter. This chapter, respectively, is called Cassette 7, Side B. The tape clicks itself over and continues playing, without her voice. The static hum that constantly played beneath her words sounds louder. Over 7 tapes and 13 stories, her voice was kept at a slight distance, but by this steady hum in the background. I let the sound wash over me as I hold onto the bars and close my eyes. The bright moon disappears. The swaying treetops disappear. The breeze against my skin. The fading pain at my fingers. The sound of this tape winding from one spool to the next. It reminds me of everything I've heard over the past day. My breathing begins to slow. The tension in my muscles start to relax. Then, a click in the headphones. A slow breath of air. I open my eyes to the bright moonlight. And Hannah, with warmth. Thank you. Stop. That is the end of that chapter. And this is the last chapter. This chapter is called The Next Day. After mailing the tapes. I fight every muscle in my body, begging me to collapse, begging me not to go to school, to go anywhere else and hide out till tomorrow. But no matter when I go back, the fact remains, eventually I need to face the other people on the tapes. Sorry, I got really distracted. I'm sorry. But no matter when I go back, the fact remains. Eventually, I need to face the other people on the tapes. I approach the entrance to the parking lot, a patch of ivy with a wide slab of etched stone welcoming us back to high school, courtesy of the class of '93. I've walked past the stone many times over the past 3 years, but not once with the parking lot this full. Not once, because I have never been this late. Till today. For 2 reasons. One, I waited outside the post office doors, waiting for them to open so I can mail a shoebox full of audio tapes. I used a brown paper bag and a roll of packing tape to rewrap it, conveniently forgetting to add my return address. Then I mailed the package to Jenny Kurtz, changing the way she'll see life, how she'll see the world forever. And 2, Mr. Porter. If I sit there in first period, with him writing on the board or standing behind the podium, the only place I can imagine looking is in the middle of the room, one desk to the left, the empty desk of Hannah Baker. People stare at her desk every day, but today, for me, is profoundly different than yesterday. So I'll take my time at my locker, and in the restroom, or wandering through the halls, I follow a sidewalk that traces the outer edge of the school parking lot. I follow it across the front lawn, through the glass double doors of the main building, and it feels strange, almost sad, to walk through the empty halls. Each step I take sounds so lonely. Behind the trophy display are 5 freestanding banks of lockers, with offices and restrooms on either side. I see a few other students late for school, gathering their books. I reach my locker, lean my head forward, and rest it against the cool metal door. I concentrate on my shoulders. Sorry, I got distracted again. Behind the trophy display are 5 freestanding banks of lockers, with offices and restrooms on either side. I see a few other students late for school, gathering their books. I reach my locker, lean my head forward, and rest it against the cool metal door. I concentrate on my shoulders and neck, relaxing the muscles. I concentrate on my breathing to slow it down. Then I turn the combination dial to 5, then left to 4, then right to 23. How many times did I stand right there, thinking I would never get a chance with Hannah Baker? I had no idea how she felt about me, no idea who she really was. Instead, I believed what other people said about her, and I was afraid what they might say about me if they knew I liked her. I spin the dial, clearing the combination. 5, 4, 23. How many times after the party did I stand here when Hannah was still alive, thinking my chances with her were over, thinking I said or did something wrong, too afraid to talk to her again, too afraid to try. And then, when she died, the chances disappeared forever. It all began a few weeks ago, when a map slipped through the vents of my locker. I wonder what's in Hannah's locker right now. Is it empty? Did the custodian pack everything into a box, drop it in a storage closet, waiting for her parents to return? Or does her locker remain untouched, exactly as she left it? With my forehead still pressed against the metal, I turn my head just enough to look into the nearest hallway, toward the always open door to first period, Mr. Porter's room. Right there, outside his door, is where I last saw Hannah Baker alive. I close my eyes. Who am I going to see today? Besides me, 8 people at school have already listened to the tapes. 8 people today are waiting to see what the tapes have done to me. And over the next week or so, as the tapes move on, I'll be doing the same to the rest of them. In the distance, muffled by a classroom wall, comes a familiar voice. But the voice, hold on. In the distance, muffled by a classroom wall, comes a familiar voice. I slowly open my eyes, but the voice will never sound friendly again. I need someone to take this out to the front office for me. Mr. Porter's voice creeps down the hall straight at me. The muscles in my shoulders feel tight, heavy, and I pound my fist into the locker. A chair squeaks, followed by footsteps leaving his room. My knees feel ready to crumble, waiting for the student to see me and ask why I'm not in class. From a bank of lockers further up, someone clicks a locker shut. Coming out of Mr. Porter's class, Steve Oliver nods his head at me and smiles. The student from the other locker rounds the corner into the hall, almost colliding into Steve. She whispers, "I'm sorry," then moves around him to get by. Steve looks down at her but doesn't respond, just keeps up his pace, moving closer to me. "All right, Clay," he says. Then he laughs. "Someone's late for class, huh?" Beyond him in the hall, the girl turns. It's Sky. The back of my neck starts sweating. She looks at me and I hold her gaze for a few steps. Then she turns to keep walking. Steve walks up close, but I don't look at him. I motion for him to move to the side. "Talk to me later," I say. Last night, on the bus, I left without talking to Sky. I wanted to talk with her. I tried to, but I let her slide out of the conversation. Over the years, she's learned to avoid people. Everyone. I step away from my locker and watch her continue down the hall. I want to say something, to call her name, but my throat tightens. Part of me wants to ignore it, to turn around and keep myself busy, to keep myself busy, do anything till second period. But Sky's walking down the same stretch of hall where I watched Hannah slip away a few weeks ago. On that day, Hannah disappeared into a crowd of students, allowing the tapes to say her goodbye. But I could still hear the footsteps of Sky Miller, sounding weaker and weaker the further she gets. And I start walking toward her. I pass the open door to Mr. Porter's room, and in one hurried glance, pull in one more than I expected. The empty desk near the center of the room. Empty for 2 weeks and for the rest of the year. Another desk, my desk, empty for 1 day. Dozens of faces turn toward me. They recognize me, but they don't see everything. And there's Mr. Porter, facing away, but starting to turn. A flood of emotion rushes into me. Pain and anger, sadness and pity, but most surprising of all, hope. I keep walking. Sky's footsteps are growing louder now, and the closer I get to her, the faster I walk, and the lighter I feel. My throat begins to relax. 2 steps behind her, I say her name. Sky. And that is the end of the book. And that is the end of the book. Well, thank you so much for listening to that. I will most probably maybe never read this book again. Not because I don't like it. I do like it. It's great. But, I don't know. I feel like if I've read the book and then I've watched the series, it's good and it's okay. I do have to admit I love the series more. Because in the series, Clay does not pass the tapes on. Instead, when he's listening to each tape, he confronts all of the people on the tapes. He confronts all of them. Well, most all of them. And the show goes in a totally different direction. But yes, that is the end of the book. There's more there's questions to the author about why he, wrote this book and stuff, but I think I'm just gonna leave it there. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you. I should tell you the next book that I'm gonna be reading, right? To give you a little bit of excitement. The next book is a very popular book. I hope this is the one I'm grabbing. Yeah, I think this is the book. Looking for Alaska. I don't know where I put the sleeve. Where did I put the sleeve? I don't have the sleeve for the book, but we are going to be reading Looking for Alaska. Man, I really wish I had the fucking sleeve cover. But I guess I don't. It is a very good book. But yes, that is the next book I will be reading. Alright. Thank you so much for your support. And to all 13, 14 follower and subscribers I have, thank you. You are the best. Have a nice night or day, or, you know, just stay. Bye-bye.